This is Digging In. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to having your time. We believe leadership is about the relationships that you have. It's about the influence you have with other people, the ability to impact their life. So today, we want you to dig in. We want you to listen to leaders and learn from them, from their pain points on their journey, where they dug in to truly lead people differently. Well, today in Digging In, we are welcoming Marsha Gill. I'm looking forward to hearing from Marsha and hearing her life story. She is a veteran, a military veteran, has years of experience in the military as well as in logistics and an analyst. So many things that she will bring to the table today. And Marsha had a point in her life where she looked at where she was and looked at where she was headed and really had a passion for helping people in a different way and went back to school. You're going to hear about that. Got her master's and is in a different career path today as she works with us on our Eagle counseling side. So Marsha, we're excited to have you. Thank you for your time today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited.
So Marsha, you have such a history of leadership and a history of learning, growing, leading yourself and leading others. And so we want to capture those highlights today. We want to learn from you. So we want to hear your story. So will you begin by taking us back and just giving us some snapshots into your life and tell us some pieces that, you know, where you began, where your career started, and just begin walking us through your history. Will you do that?
Sure, absolutely. It's interesting when you say your history, you never really think about it in those terms. But yeah, I joined the military right out of school, right out of college. It was a financial decision that I needed, assistance as it relates to pursuing school or completing school. And so I joined the Army in Montgomery, Alabama. My father is a retired veteran as well. And so we landed at Fort Rucker and he retired from that area. And so I started out at Troy University, transitioned, joined the military in Montgomery, Alabama, and just started from there. My first duty station was Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So, very much close to home in all regards right now. And just started my career out there in the Army as a logistician, and for the vast majority of my time in the military, it was spent in and around Fort Campbell, Kentucky. I like to say I started and ended my career as it relates to serving as a soldier at Fort Campbell. But that's where I started out. I've worked in and led teams in ground maintenance, aviation maintenance, medical logistics, property accountability. So it's really just been a vast career progression through various areas of logistics in the military. And so it's been pretty exciting to get to see different people, experience different things. And it just really opened up my world.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, we want to say thank you for your service. We are headed towards Veterans Day, and we're just honored that you have represented our country and served our country in such a way. So thank you tremendously for your service. So talk to us about being a lady in the service, a female. Talk to us about pieces that describe, your leadership and what you learned.
Absolutely. Being a lady in the military, it was definitely interesting because there were, challenges that you needed to try to overcome, just by the virtue of being a female. But I will say that those opportunities and, just being able to see other women have achieved leadership roles, respect, and just really the structure of the military in and of itself, it really is about teaching and ingraining leadership from the very beginning. And so you go into it with that mindset that you're being groomed, right, to be a leader. And so it left room for growth for me personally, but also being able to be surrounded by, male and female, pull things out of me that I didn't know that I had, but as well as allowed, the idea of the military and just the leadership and how the culture in of itself grooms you in such a way that it helped me be a better person, a better me. And so those hurdles that I would overcome, because I will just be honest, I am not the physical person, right? And so that was really one of my weak points, was the physical fitness aspect of it. But I can recall having so many leaders, whether it was females or males, that would just rally around, because that's what we do. It's no soldier left behind. And so that in of itself really instilled something in me, that even if you're having a difficult time or you're having a struggle, I'm your battle buddy. And if I
Mhm.
have to turn around and come back and pick you up and support
Mhm.
you and encourage you and motivate you to keep it moving, that's what I'm going to do. And so that instilled in me very early on how important it was to have like-minded community people
Mhm.
that are really there for you, supporting you in those good times and those bad times. And so that has kind of bled into my service as it relates to, no longer wearing the uniform. I love to say I'm still in that mindset. I've just changed clothes, right? I'm still serving. I've just changed my uniform. And so just those things that the military has instilled in me as it relates to community, taking care of one another, is really something that I lean into day to day as a therapist as well.
Mm. And so it sounds like you have always had that desire to grow and learn from
Mm,
others, and really allow yourself to be a sponge to soak up opportunities that are before you. And what a mindset of growth. What a mindset of
absolutely.
growth. So you've been overseas. Um,
Yes.
so talk to us about some of the pieces there, with culture, with
Mm.
leadership. What did you see? What did you experience?
Well, for me, I've always been the type of person that I want to grab opportunities, right? And so, what better way to grab an opportunity to be in a different country, exposed to different cultures, and not immerse yourself in it? And so, I really took that by the horn in terms of when I was stationed as a soldier prior to, because I'm married to a veteran as well. So, when I was stationed alone, I would go, overseas, and I would be involved in various things that allow me to connect with the community. I was stationed in Korea. It was one of my I think it was my second duty station. And man, I really just wanted to be all in. I wanted to try all the foods. I wanted to go to all of, the different events. I wanted to go to museums. I mean, I just really wanted to be a part. I did not want to take this for granted, right? And so when my family and I went back after I had transitioned from the military, my husband was then, stationed there. Of course, his perspective was a little bit different, right? He wasn't really as eager to get involved and try all the foods and, go. He wanted to go different places, but he really wasn't about, going all in. And so what I would do is, during that time, I was working for the contracting command there in Korea, and I would during the week kind of rally around some of the Korean nationals, some of my coworkers, and I'd say, "Hey, take me here," and I'd go and try it out, and then I would come back, that weekend and bring the family out. So I've always been very intentional about trying to create those opportunities for myself, but even also for others, because I know that there were a lot of things that we were able to talk about with some of my Korean counterparts, that they could ask questions about culture and about me being a female and me being in the military. And so it just really created this dialogue that was receptive, right, and welcoming, because listen, we're doing this together. And so we're creating community. And I always took pride in being able to be a part of the conversation, and really kind of sought it out. I'm like, "Hey, where are we going for lunch today?" Or, what are you doing this weekend? What shopping area are you going to? I want to be able to check it out. And they really welcomed that, because to them, that meant that I wasn't just there doing a job. I really wanted to be a part of their world. And that is something that I could never take back.
Creating community.
Mm,
Heard you say you were intentional about creating community. So
yeah.
in your time in the military, what would you say would be, one or
Mhm.
two key takeaways for you? What would those leadership takeaways be from your perspective?
Wow. I would say for me would be flexibility, right?
Mm,
Um, that's one of the things that the military teaches you. The Army specifically teaches you, the need to be flexible. They have this saying, hurry up and wait. And so,
mm,
we are always in posture, right? And so for me, flexibility, and I think even with leadership, you have to remain flexible. You have to be approachable and flexible. And so that's a key takeaway for me. It's just learning how to be flexible and not so rigid. Oftentimes, the military, gets this preconceived notion that we create robots and everybody's very rigid. But what we've learned is that it's just really pride. It's really how we demonstrate pride. And we think that, culture and tradition and beliefs and values matter and they have purpose. And
mm,
so when you're flexible, you can navigate those differences in a way that garners that respect. And I think that's really important to leaders to
mm,
be able to remain flexible and not so rigid.
mm,
And then I would also say, just community, being able to create that community. And I think the military does a great job in that because everyone matters. And I think when you recognize that everyone matters and everyone has value and they bring value to the table, it creates a dynamic that encourages people to go to the next level because you matter. What I bring to the table
mm,
matters. And I think that is at the core of any organization because we spend so much time together when we really honestly think about it. And I don't want to, it's unfair for an individual to be, to come to a place and really not feel like they connect, really not feel like that what they bring to the table
mm,
matters. Because at the end of the day, why would they be a part of that community? And so I think it's really important to create, this emphasis that, you matter and you're valuable. And I think when you do that, people will turn the world over for you.
Wow, wow. So I'm hearing pieces of probably what transitioned you into the
Mm,
counseling arena. Making sure that people understand their lives matter, having community, making sure that you're flexible to respect people and meet their needs and understand them. So tell us, make that transition for us and tell us what led you out of the military into
mm.
the counseling arena. What was that piece that really kind of motivated you to make that change? Talk to us about that.
Wow. So interesting enough, my last uh, job working with the military directly was, right here in Redstone at AMCOM, um, on staff there. And one of the things that I noticed very early on, really, as I sat back and reflected on it, that I had this thing that no matter where organization that I was a part, that I just kind of drew people to me. People would often seek me out to, just talk about their struggles and their challenges. And one of the roles that I played at the Arsenal was I would go around to different organizations and I would conduct inspections and so I got to talk to people all the time. And it was funny because one of the leaders at one organization I was going in and doing an inspection in, and they're like, just stay to the script, don't say anything outside of that. But what I recognize is that I created this, me just being me created this atmosphere that allowed people to feel comfortable and connect. And so before you knew it, they were answering questions that weren't directly related to the questions that I was asking, but they were also opening up themselves and their lives and their experiences with work and, whatever their struggles were as it related to the profession or if it related personally. And I said, wow, this, something is really happening here. Now, for my personal life, I've always really kind of wanted to be in this vein. I actually started out in college way back when, in this particular field. And when I had to shift, and join the military, it kind of got put on the back burner. But then it kind of came back full circle here when we transitioned to Redstone, and I said to myself, "Wow, there's something here," and I think just being, in the military, we're really others based, right? We're self-sacrifice. We're all about taking care and protecting and defending others. And so for me, helping others from this vantage point is really just an extension of what I've been doing all of my life. And so, whether it was in working for the government or being a defense contractor, I've always been a others type of person, others based. And so this transition, just fit perfectly. I recall going to my deputy director and saying, "Hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing." And he's like, "Wow, I'm going to hate to lose you, but it's a perfect fit. I completely understand it." And so for me, that in of itself gave validation that I was on the right track. And so now I just really feel like that I'm walking all the more in purpose. And one of the things that really kind of gives me that energy as a veteran, because it's difficult for veterans to ask for help, right? Because everything that we've done has really been about others, and it's really been about self-sacrifice and being strong and being able to, push through. And so me being a part of that community, being like them, really creates that space, right, where they can feel comfortable to come and share. Anytime I see clients that come into the office and I recognize that they have some affiliation with, being a service member, man, that opens up a door of conversation because we can connect. And it's like, hey, you get me because you are me, right? And so that has really been one of the main reasons why I've made that pivot and shifted to the helping field, because honestly, that's all I've known all my life as a service member is, being others based.
So thinking about the counseling arena, the counseling, the opportunities that you get for specifically even veterans, what would be some pieces you would say if you could communicate some key things to that veteran that might be listening from a counseling perspective, lending a hand? What would you say? What would those words be?
Wow. I think that it's important to recognize that we are a very distinctive group of people, right? But I also think that just as we've gone into different areas of the world and we've interacted with different people, one of the things that we do when we get on the ground is we really connect. And I think we make our best attempt to connect, right? To connect with the community that we're in. And I think oftentimes, especially in the helping field, there's a little reservation because we don't feel like we're being heard or that we're understood. And I think if we don't change the narrative and allow people the opportunity to get to know us and to understand, and I think it goes twofold, being able to know the right questions to ask and the right questions not to ask, how to acknowledge and validate the hard work and sacrifices that they've made. I think that creates and promotes a better understanding of what it means to be a veteran. And then that allows for those doors to be open to communicate, to create that therapeutic alliance. And so, I think it's twofold. I think, for veterans, it's really, helping us understand better, right? Or helping those that have not had any type of affiliation with the military understand better what it means to be a service member, what it means to be a spouse of a veteran, what it means to be a child of a veteran. But also, the civilian element, understanding or desiring to understand through asking those questions and what those questions, mean to veteran. There is this amazing YouTube video out, and it really is about promoting better understanding as it relates to veterans and how to create this narrative. And it talks about the top 15 things that veterans would want, others to know. And it just gives a host of information just about what it means to be a veteran. And I think that having that understanding really creates that avenue of true dialogue, and where I can really allow you in just through conversation, just by asking, were you a veteran? What did you do in the military? And really that validates that you still matter. And I think oftentimes we feel like when we take off the uniform, that it's a struggle to fit back in, and it's a struggle sometimes to connect and to communicate. And we often feel misunderstood and that we don't matter. So if we can change that narrative on both ends by being flexible, and really learning how to create community in such a way that promotes unity.
What powerful comments you have made, and just listening to you, that it's our responsibility to create community as leaders. So we think about the leaders that will be listening to this. We own facilitating and creating that community of people around us with our team. And I love what you're saying too, especially for veterans. Listening. Are we listening? Are we allowing them to tell their story? Are we allowing them to be heard and hear their narrative? And then even what are we doing with that? How are we helping others script the next season, the next story, the next piece of their storyline? So people do matter. Thank you for those comments today. Thank you for reminding us that it is important from a leadership standpoint that we help people be able to understand their importance and their value. So
Absolutely.
thank you. Incredible words today, incredible nuggets and insight. We appreciate you so much. We're so thankful for you on our Eagle counseling side too, that you're providing leadership and walking with people and making such a big difference in their lives. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marsha.
So much.
We want to challenge our leaders. And so we want you thinking leaders. How do you take these nuggets and think about them and process them and use them in your leadership journey? We want to challenge you. We challenge you to dig in a little deeper, look a little deeper this month as we celebrate and honor Veterans Day, and use these pieces to think and process and challenge yourself as a leader. Thank you again. We look forward to our next opportunity in digging in.